Hi folks, I'm Lawrence Mann and welcome to Lawrence Can Draw. Today I want to cover on my little walk and talk 10 digital art mistakes that you are not making. Why? Because a lot of creatives out there have already done 10 digital art mistakes you are making, which I think is a little disconcerting. As a digital artist just starting out, yeah, it's great to be helped along the way with mistakes you need kind of fixing, that might need pointing out to you, but it's not great for morale, is it? So let's point out the things you are getting right. The things that you might be doing right that you need a little reassurance on. Things that people are telling you to fix, but at this stage in your development aren't so wrong. Things that people are saying you need to fix this, but really, things that we all did, things that we've learned from. So yes, these are things that we don't do as professionals, but we all did as amateurs, and even I use that word, and we shouldn't, but yeah, things that we all did that aren't so bad, that we should love, we should cherish, and things that we're grateful for, things that we've all learnt from. Yeah, you move away from them eventually, but they're awesome. So here are 10 digital art things that, absolutely rock when you're learning. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Make sure to subscribe, and hitting like doesn't destroy the world. So number one, I have a little list. Number one on my list is get comfortable. You will hear loads of things about the way that you have to sit, have to arrange your little drawing tablet, and for most of you, it's your first drawing tablet. Most of you don't have a studio. Most of you don't have even a desk. Do you know something? My first drawing tablet was 2 inches by 2 inches, and it wasn't even mine technically. It was at my school, and my computer science teacher let me use it for like a couple hours a day, which was more than most people had back in kind of the early 90s. So, well, realistically, yes, I have a studio, I have a desk, I have a couple of desks, I have about 3 desks. I have Ergotron arms coming out the wazoo, to the point where if my studio got artificial intelligence, it would rise up and kill me like a Terminator factory. But even when I was starting out as a professional, even a few years into it, what did I do? I sat on the sofa with my wife, and I used to sit there and draw there and take phone calls from professionals. I was even doing work for Marvel while sat on my sofa. Nothing wrong with it. Get comfy. You will be working long hours. And people say you need to sit parallel to your drawing tablet, you need to do this, no, get comfy, draw. You're going to spend more time, at this point in your career, when you're just getting used to drawing, you're going to spend more time now drawing when you're so much in love with your craft than at any other point. So just sit on the sofa, sit in bed, sit on the edge of your bed. That's probably what I did more when I was younger. I'm knocking on, well, I am 40, but yeah, just sit wherever you want to sit on the steps, sit outside, it doesn't matter. Just sit wherever you want to sit and get comfy. Believe in the crows. Crows tell you the same thing. He's backing me up. Or she, I don't know. But yes, whatever you want to do, wherever you want to sit, wherever you want to be, whatever makes you feel like you're going to make better art, be there. Don't let anyone tell you differently about that. Realistically, that's point number one. Just whatever makes you more comfortable, whatever you think is going to make you a better artist, do that. Because some days you're in the mood for drawing, some days you're not. And let's face it, if you think it helps, do that. Hold your pen in whatever way makes you feel more comfortable. You don't have to have your drawing board at a certain angle. And that's the trouble. A lot of people on YouTube have their way of working. And it really, it's a phrase that I've used over the years, and it's my way of working. It's not really a phrase, but hey, your way of working. Go with it. That's point number one. There's no real way to labor that. Point number two, experiment with color. I've heard so many people talk about color theory. Oh, when I was at art college, when I was 15, I went to art college kind of early. 15, 16, people banged on about art theory then, color theory. People banged on about color theory all throughout my junior life, professional life, working in ad agencies. People still keep banging on about it now. Color theory, yes, I understood it then, I understand it now. It's pretty rational, it all makes sense. But you know something? I get it, I just don't care. There's something in my brain that says this color is correct. I don't know if some people just get it and some people just don't. But I think there's certainly a very laboured point on the internet, places like YouTube, where people think this is something I can make a video about and will get a lot of clicks. So younger artists, particular amateur artists, let's go back to that, think, oh, I really have to study this. You either get it or you don't, and that's what's going to make you an artist. Experiment with colour. I see a lot of amateur artists, who kind of go crazy with art, with colour, and a lot of professional artists, concept artists, working artists, who kind of do these cool grey colours. So a lot of more amateur artists seem to think that they have to copy them or spend a lot of time working on their colour theory, and it's depressing in a way. Yeah, so I don't know. Whichever way you think you have to go on it, but don't obsess over colour theory. For me personally, I just think you get it or you don't. Don't let it crush you. I think the art I see from younger artists coming out, they experiment with it far more. They go wild with colours. They just play and experiment more, and when they become more professional, they don't experiment as much. And I think when you look back at your younger art, you see how much fun you've had, and you've lost something from that, most certainly. So yes, never lose your joy of experimenting with colours. I think it's the realism that seeps into your artwork rather than just the joy of having fun. I think that's the best way to put it. So yes, don't let yourself get bogged down with the technicalities of colour, Number 3, spending too long on artwork or not spending enough time on artwork is something that's constantly critiqued. So on this side, pat yourself on the back for being nice and quick. I spend up to 2 weeks, sometimes it can be even more actually, on a professional commission. My work is detailed. That's kind of how I get hired for my commissions, is the fact that people go, wow, I love your work, it's really, really detailed. And yes, I love the fact that my work is super, super detailed. And sorry, I'm looking around because I'm crossing roads and doing all that, and I'm in a public place walking, so eye contact may not always be maintained. Yes, pat yourself on the back for the fact that you can whiz through work in a day. I often see people saying, oh, this took me ages, I spent ages on this, and when you ask how long, they're like 2 days. Sometimes you think, it didn't take you ages then, did it? But especially when I take 2 weeks on a piece of artwork. But yes, the very fact that you spent 2 days on a piece of artwork, while it may not be fast to working professionals, the very fact that may not be long to working professionals, it's fast to us, but it's a long time to you, is absolutely great, actually. You know, I'm blown away by that, and I think you've done a great job by spending that long on it. I think the faster you can do artwork, the faster you can get through images, the better, because the more images, the more sketches you can do. It's brilliant. Practice, and that's what it's all about. Don't labor over the details too much. What you need in the beginning of your artistic endeavors, you know, before you get to be a professional, before you get to be at the top end of whatever you feel is the top end, is practicing the kind of base layers. It's practicing, I'm going constantly uphill now. It's it's practicing things like anatomy, practicing layout, practicing all of that kind of stuff, dead end street. So that's kind of what you need. And sorry, I don't know this area at all. I just caught a bus and started wandering. So yeah, that's kind of what you need. It's practice, practice, practice on the layout, the anatomy, the kind of base structure, basic lighting, stuff like that. And if you're focusing on small details in an image, you're not really gonna get that basic stuff. So the more images you can churn out, the faster you can churn them out, the better. So if you try tackling 3 images in one day, every day, you're gonna get better than if you spent 1 month tackling 3 images. That's the basic maths of digital art. I know people who fill entire sketchbooks, you know, kind of 1 sketchbook a month, and the speed at which they improve their artwork, phenomenal. And I know other people like me who can get out a couple of images a month, and our detail work is great, but you know, study away on actual changes. I don't want to say improvements, but yeah, to the level of our artwork. So there you go. But obviously I've been a professional artist for over 20 years. So yeah, so I won't labour that anymore, but yeah, there you go. So the fact that you're, at least to a professional eye, not spending loads and loads of time, you're not spending weeks and weeks on a single image, brilliant thing. Why is somebody booing? I think it's just a taxi. So yeah, that is absolutely great. That's the main road down there. Does that mean I have to walk back uphill? Mother. So, yes, so far you are doing an absolutely tremendous job. That was point 3. Point 4, copying photos. This gets a little dicey because this is something good you're doing, but can also be something bad depending on what exactly you've been up to. There's some people that might need telling off here, so sorry if you are one of those people, but it could also be a good thing. If you've been copying photos, then absolutely awesome. Depends how much you've been doing. Copying photos is brilliant, and don't get me wrong, professionals do this too. I do this. It's called reference. It's fundamental to being an artist, especially a professional artist. We use references all the time. I even get reference images up in front of clients. I ask them to send me reference images. Don't be afraid to just copy an image fully and change it from there. You are going to become a brilliant artist by looking at an image and taking it apart with your mind, drawing images and getting them kind of 100% right. You know, that is what's going to teach you lighting, structure, everything, because your mind is going to learn to understand how exactly that works. It's going to be awesome. But, and this is the bit where I might tell some of you off, but the rest of you are going to be like, yeah. Tracing. Do not trace. Might be okay if you're just tracing an outline, like the whole outline kind of thing. But some images I look at and I'm like, you've just done a paint over. That's lazy. Because you're not doing anything. You're not teaching yourself anything. You're not learning anything, which means you're not becoming a better artist. So you have to step back. I understand that your artwork might not yet be at a scale where you're going to be good enough to copy the image, and you think tracing is going to be A, far faster, B, far better if you trace it. But A, why do you want to be an artist if tracing is the only way of doing it? It's probably because you want people clapping and going, "Oh, it's brilliant." But if that's the only thing you want, then go do something else. If the applause is all you're after, yeah, go do something better. Don't take up space that the rest of us artists are using. Yeah. Tracing is something children do. It's not something the rest of us, want to do. The rest of us want to copy a reference image and use it. And just copying it alone isn't good enough. Copying it and then building on it, or copying parts of it. Say if it's a dog, you might copy the head and turn that into a demon dog. Yeah. Or just using that image and then kind of working out how it might look when you turn it round slightly, or looking at the fur from that dog and patching that onto a wild beast creature that you've drawn. All of this kind of idea works, but tracing over that dog and then saying you came up with that dog, it's not good. So it's a kind of I don't even call it a thin line. Nah. What you're doing is shaming yourself and shaming other artists. It's pretty much it. But this is things that your mistakes you're not making. So again, copying an image, absolutely acceptable. If you're doing that, it's in a way, it's absolutely acceptable. It's things that all professional artists do because it's going to make your art better. If you draw a demon creature with fur, then go and look at a real image reference of fur, because it's going to be better than the fur you're trying to imagine. Okay, moving on to the next point. Worrying about layers. Busy traffic today. I'm trying to walk somewhere different every day so I don't get bored with my route. Okay, so worrying about layers. One of the fundamentals is to make sure that you always draw on different layers, no matter which program you're using. So yes, always draw on different layers. If you're drawing me right now, then draw the head on one layer, draw the body on a layer behind, draw the background on another layer, and draw the sky on another layer, etc., etc. Makes perfect sense. Yes, you should be doing this, but don't fret. Don't fret about it. Why? Because, like I said before, your artwork should be quicker. You shouldn't be focusing on this being a masterpiece at the start of your career, at the start of your artistic endeavors. You're not Leonardo da Vinci. Nobody expects greatness from you. You shouldn't expect greatness from you. And I don't think you should be spending hours and days and weeks on your artwork. So the best thing you can actually do is just to try and get your artwork done. If you obsess over layers, the only thing you're actually going to do is make your artwork take longer, is going to make the file size bigger. It's quite harrowing. So don't worry about it. If you do it, then brilliant, but you know, chances are you don't have a behemoth of a machine. I work on files that can go up to 300 layers and beyond. You know, it used to be 300 layers, I think it's more like 400, 450 now. But yeah, this makes the file size incredibly big. I have to have computers that can handle it. You probably don't have that. You know, professionals buy machines that can handle it. You're just starting out, you probably have an iPad Pro, or you probably have Galaxy Tab or Surface Book, something like that. Or you're just using your gaming PC with Wacom Intuos, maybe. Let me know in the comments below what you're using. Chances are then that you're not going to be using a program. You're not going to be using something that can handle hundreds and hundreds of layers. You're not going to be spending weeks and weeks on this. Just don't worry about the layers. Don't craze out about things like that. Not just about layers, but other things as well. Get on with the art. Focus on the art. And by doing that, you'll just have more fun. And I'm sure that's what you're doing. It's the advice of other artists to tell you, layers, 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 worry about things like that, obsess with things like that, because they want to make videos that get them loads of clicks. I'm sure I've been guilty of saying things like this before, and it's, yeah, realistically, whatever you're into, do it. And you should be thinking about things like this for the future, but if you're starting out, yeah, don't obsess with it is the point. Okay, where's my sheet of paper? Next thing, sharing unfinished work. I love seeing all of your work on Twitter. You can copy me in at LAWRENCEcanDRAW, Facebook, etc., etc. And it's kind of like, I like seeing this. I like seeing things that people put up which are just scribbles. Yeah, things that aren't finished. You know, professionals like me, etc., we don't always put up unfinished work. I rarely ever put it up, and if I do, it's kind of like a quick thing on Instagram. But most of the time I rarely ever do it. And if professional artists do, then it's mostly tweaked to make it look really good. Most, you know, younger artists, most artists just getting into it, kind of just put it up whenever they feel they've accomplished something. And that's brilliant. I love seeing that. If you're doing that, pat yourself on the back. You should be doing it more, trying to get your name out there, trying to just get positive feedback. Because, you know, even if it's just members of your family and just your friends telling you they think it's amazing, it's great just to get some kind of acknowledgement. Believe me, I've been there, well, before social media, but you know, showing round your artwork can give you an amazing feeling, and that's something we should all be doing. I think professionals should be doing more of as well. Trouble is, when it's commissioned, you can't really do that. But yes, certainly I think that it's one of the things that kind of artists just getting into a field do wonderfully well. Even just like the roughest kind of construction line kind of work. Yeah, I love seeing it all. And now and again I leave comments, but I should do it more. And yeah, copy me in on Twitter and Facebook, and I certainly will start leaving more comments. So the next thing was working in low res versus high res. I've seen a lot of comments saying that people should work, you know, watch what DPI you're using, 300 res, and it should be, you know, should it be RGB or CMYK, etc., etc. I always work in minimum 300 DPI, and, you know, or even 400 DPI most of the time now. CMYK for print. A lot of this can be very confusing. Most of the time when people send me stuff just to look at and ask me if it's all right, in my opinion, they're working in like 150 RGB, 150 DPI RGB. People are getting more savvy at this kind of thing, working on 300. It doesn't matter. Exactly the same comment as I said when I said about layers. Just have fun. Don't focus on it too much. Just create art. And yeah, you just be you. Don't focus on things like that too much. If anything, worry about the brushes. When I was starting out in digital painting, I was taught, first of all, traditional. Digital painting wasn't really a thing when I started out. You know, we had CorelDRAW, we had Microsoft Paint, there's a couple other things starting out. Photoshop was in its really early days, but yeah, I mean, oh God, it was all awful. But yeah, I mean, the brushes were the thing to obsess around. So I'd say to obsess about your brushes more than anything else, you know. But don't use other people's kind of pre-bought brushes. Make your own. Tinker with the settings. That's the thing to do. I think I've mentioned that in other videos as well anyway. I think I've got a video specifically about that maybe. But yes, realistically, try not to worry too much about low res versus high res. The thing we say about high res is that this is for kind of printing off and what you do with it afterwards. As long as it's good enough resolution on your screen, it'll be good enough resolution on somebody else's. Unless you plan on printing, you know, posters and stuff like that, don't worry about it. And that's basically that one. But I do see this one come up in these top 10 lists, so I wanted to put that one in there. Worrying about your mistakes is the next one. We're up to number 8. Worrying about your mistakes, obsessing over those details that you've put in there and what they mean. Well, worrying about your mistakes gets a little iffy at times. What mistakes you make within your artwork, going back, repainting over them. Well, imagine you're painting a car, for example. Imagine you're painting a car and then you start worrying about how the distance of the wheel arches, something like that. Well, with a select tool you can go in and change that easily, right? But you could go in and repaint the entire area as well, and so on and so forth. You run into the danger of actually messing up the entire drawing, and you don't want to do that. It's, yeah, think about this. Think about, instead of doing that, redraw the entire image. Now I know you're thinking, oh, well, that's even more work, but before you redraw the entire image, make a list of everything that's wrong with it, or at least 5 things that are wrong with it, and then redraw it. Redraw it with those 5 things in mind. Try and draw it quicker as well. Now, if you're trying to draw quickly, you know, say if you were drawing 3 drawings in a day, your 3rd drawing is going to be amazing. Now, I've seen these memes around, like somebody draws something in a minute, then somebody draws it in 30 seconds, then somebody draws it in 10 seconds. and you know, they get progressively worse. I'm not talking about that style of thing, but what I'm talking about is the idea that what you can do is you can say, you just do 3 drawings in a day, they all take the same time, or they get, you know, slightly faster because you're drawing the same thing 3 times, so you should get faster. Or if you draw the same thing 3 times at the same amount of time, then they should just get progressively better. You know, because practice. And realistically, yeah, you learn from your mistakes rather than just painting over the top and kind of butchering it each time, which as a professional, yes, you paint over your mistakes, you get better, you correct issues. But when you're starting out, it might be better to actually start again. As a professional, we do this, but professionals don't really tell you that. It's one thing. Why? Because windy. Sorry about if that's really affecting the audio. I have tried to shield my audio a bit. It's the danger of a walk and talk, I'm afraid, folks. But yes, it's the one thing professionals don't tell you is that we do start again. We do several sketches. We do, you know, we're not perfect. Every single brushstroke that we put down isn't a stroke in a cathedral, you know? That's just the way that is. So, yes, don't be afraid to just get to a point and say, you know what, this isn't perfect, gonna start again. On the other hand here, what I will say is that even if you finish a painting and you feel happy with it, imagine starting that painting again anyway, just to see if you could do an even better job. I've also revisited images that I painted 10 years ago. A lot of people do this. You often see this take back images that they painted like when they were amateur artists, and they look awesome. Now, they look cool when they've done that. But imagine doing this while you're still setting out. Take a painting that you did 6 months ago and try it again now. Then in another 6 months, do it again. It's okay to draw something again. But what are you doing right here? I think the fundamental one of this is that you shouldn't be worrying about your mistakes. It's okay to worry about your mistakes though. I know a lot of people get stressed out about the mistakes that they're doing. There are just a few ways around it. They're my thoughts on it, but if you are worrying about the mistakes you're making, it's perfectly normal. We all do it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about worrying about your mistakes. One's a bit long-winded, but yeah, they're my thoughts on it. Everybody knows I ramble. Maybe there's something in there for a title for this series of videos. Lawrence Can Ramble. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. Okay, got my list. Drawing what you love is number 9. Don't worry, we're nearly at the end, folks. Thank you for hanging in there with me. If you've lasted this long, then make sure to subscribe. Drawing what you love. You all must draw what you love. One of the horrible questions I get asked is, how long have you been drawing for? Or when did you start drawing? It's like all kids draw. It's just a case of some of us stop drawing and go and play football, or get interested in video games and stuff like that. Yeah. And the rest of us just carry on drawing and become artists. Some of us drop out and get interested in other things, you know, when we get to high school age. And some of us, few of us, carry on to become professional artists. There you go. We're the real stickers, the ones who can't figure out anything else to do with our lives. But yes. So, thought I lost my list then. I'm always losing things from my back pocket. I've donated a fair few £20 notes to the charity of the pavement before. So, drawing what you love is important. For me, when I was at high school, it was Marvel Comics. I still have the copy of How to Draw the Marvel Way on my bookshelf. Really wish I'd have got that signed by Stan Lee. Would have been worth something. Probably not. There's probably loads of those. I should have taken it to every Comic-Con and got it signed. Maybe that's a tip for you if you're a Marvel fan. But I've got a fair few pieces of like stuff drawn by Marvel artists on my wall, like Adam Hughes and so on and so forth. Yeah, so drawing what you love is really important. There's a lot of, you know, manga artists and anime artists, comic book artists and everything on who watch YouTube constantly. You know, a lot of digital painters, digital artists, illustrators, designers, animators, everything who watch this channel. And I love you guys and I think you're great. Thank you for sticking with me. Now, one of the constant tips is to try and experiment and draw different things. I've said this for ages. Always draw outside your comfort zone. While I think that is so important, that you draw everything different, one of the things I always point out is try and draw things that you find hard, like horses and hands. Something else that begins with H as well that I always say, because I like the trinity of H's. But drawing what you love is amazingly important. So you often see a lot of, and I'm going to pick on you guys here, the manga and anime guys and gals that just stick with that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. You should not stick solely with this, but there's nothing wrong with drawing what you love. If that's all you want to draw, then go ahead and draw it. But I would say find your own style within that, or, you know, be definitive within that. I'm sure there's one or two particular artists who you absolutely love. There's a way of defining yourself within that genre. And you follow, I'm sure, a couple of artists in the same way that you follow a couple of YouTubers. Drawing what you love is what excites you about artwork. I look like I've got no neck because my arm's getting constantly sore from holding up the phone. I haven't got a gimbal or anything like that, it's just me holding the phone. So, and this is a long video, as you know. So yeah, drawing what you love is what defines you. It's what makes you happy to carry on drawing every day. I always say to draw a minimum of 2 hours a day if you want to be a better artist. People say to move out of your genre, to try drawing different things. I remember when I was starting out, when I was at art college, when I was at school as well. God, my art teacher, he was brilliant, but he kept trying to make me draw postmodernism. I hate postmodernism. Traditional arts, love them, but no, I'm not a postmodernist fan. And yeah, I still love drawing comic book stuff. Don't get a chance to do it much, but there you go, there it is. Realistically, I can't fault people for drawing what they love. I still love drawing the same stuff that I drew when I was 15, and given the fact that, you know, that was like years ago, Not going to say, yeah, I already said it was 40. So, yeah. Draw whatever you want. Draw whatever you love. Try and get better at that style, especially before you move on. If you want to draw other stuff, do you know what? You will naturally get better at that. You will naturally move across to a different style later on in life. But don't try and move out of that now. Enjoy what you're drawing. That's about that. People tell you to move on. You don't have to. Enjoy whatever space you're in. Talk to different artists in that genre. Just have fun. Just try and be the best at that you can be. And if it is kind of Marvel Comics, look at your favorite artists. Nothing wrong with trying to emulate them. I was the biggest Adam Hughes fan for a long time. My style definitely changed to try and emulate Adam Hughes when I was a teenager. When he first kind of changed to be more Art Nouveau styled, when he first did his Gen 13 stuff, you know. I loved all of that. I met him, you know. I've got some signed stuff on the walls. I've got loads of signed comics by Adam Hughes because I met him a couple of times, you know. And that did influence my comic book style. At the time, there were no copycat Adam Hughes. Now there's thousands of them. Even, you know, working professionally, which I'd really, you know, sometimes I'm like, is that an Adam Hughes? I'm like, no, it's not an Adam Hughes. But, so my style has changed yet again to not be Adam Hughes, because I don't want to be one of those guys. But there's a difference to copying your favorite artist and then copying your favorite artist once you become a professional. But for right now, while you're starting out, if you're copying your favorite artist right now, that's the thing you're doing correctly. Emulating somebody else will make you a better artist. Oh, and when I was a kid, I had a book of Greek art. You know, it was sketches from Da Vinci and stuff like that as well that I had. And I used to obsessively sit there and draw eyes and noses and things like that from Leonardo da Vinci. And I got so good at drawing eyes and noses and stuff from Da Vinci that, like, people would be like, whoa, this kid's really good at drawing. And it was just copies of, like, faces and stuff from Da Vinci. And that was when I was like 7, 6. Yeah, it's creepy. But yes, I just love these pencil sketches. I'll wait for the wind. Number 10, learning to take criticism. This is kind of the biggie. And the last one. Sorry, this has been an incredibly long video. If you feel, I mean, I'm sure most of the people who will complain about that will have wandered off, but thank you again for hanging out with me, guys. There's some complainers. If you heard the bibs from the road. Beeps, whatever, horns. So, learning to take criticism is a huge part of being a digital artist. I should be walking, shouldn't I? Yes, learning to take criticism is a huge part of being a digital artist. Most people starting out will either get really upset, really frustrated about taking criticism. And it's one of those things where people can't do it, get frustrated by it, get scared by it, get angry by it. It will even make some people put down their tablet, walk away, unfortunately, or just stop sharing their artwork, which is really, really upsetting in and of itself. So, how do you handle that? What do you say to anybody who really gets frustrated if you have been to art college, then you will have been told about handling criticism. I was told about it when I first went to art college. I was taught better about it when I went to university, arts university. It's hard to handle criticism. I'm naturally an angry, ranty person. I try and keep this off of YouTube, but it kind of makes me a bit more rambly when I don't rant. I could rant and moan easily. Yeah, but I don't. So, yeah. I make sure I answer every comment below. And it's one way of dealing with criticism. By tackling it face on. By trying to see another person's point of view. By saying, okay, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. What don't you like about it? Be specific. Give me an actual argument I can fight against. If you don't like it, don't tell me that you just don't like it. Tell me why you don't like it. I want 3 reasons from you why you don't like my artwork. Not liking it is your weakness unless you give me reasons. I get very Al Pacino in it. You know, I get very offended, and I still, to this day, take it personally. But that can be a good thing. That can also be your strength. And if you are taking it personally that people don't like your artwork, that's a good thing. That's what you're doing right, because that's your passion for what you do coming out. Don't let people tell you otherwise. It's awesome that you're taking your artwork so personally, so passionately. And the trouble is that not enough people are telling you that. Most people will say, oh, you can't take it personally. You can't, you can't take it to heart what people say. Most people are just trolls. Well, yeah, most people are trolls. Most people are absolute dicks when it comes to, the internet. Why? Because, most people get trapped like themselves. So they go and take it out on others. That's the world in general. It's nasty out there. Look at it. Actually, it's nice around here. That's why I come and walk around here, because I don't want to do this where I live. So I get buses to places and walk. I don't want weird looks by my neighbours. So yeah, I mean, realistically, it's good that you take it personally. There's nothing wrong with it, and you should always kind of, enjoy the criticism from everybody else. But as long as it's fair criticism, as long as they can back it up, and if they don't back it up, then just ignore that. Creative criticism is different from outright trolling, and if people do outright troll you, then it's like just a rubbish your mama joke. It's just, not good. But you should be seeking out, and I hope you are seeking out, and if you are seeking out, then you're doing it correctly. Creative criticism. People who give real creative criticism are helping you, and you should be helping others by giving them real creative criticism as well. I try and give creative criticism where possible. I've been thinking about offering creative criticism for kind of money, but so it's one of those things. If you can give it and you can take it, there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe you are at a point in your digital art where you're banding together with other people, with other artists at your same level. You can team up with them, and they can give you constructive criticism, and you can give the same to them. Posting art online, you're always going to get some trolls. That's just that. Good luck out there. Hopefully these tips reassured you as to what you're doing right. I'll go over them once more because this has been a long video. Get comfortable. I'm sure you're just sitting at the kitchen table, sitting on the sofa, wherever you're sitting. As long as you're comfy, then you're doing it right. Don't worry too much about setting up a studio, having everything bang on right at your desk. You don't have to have the best tablet, you don't have to have the best computer. As long as you can draw, as long as you're comfy, you're doing it right. Experimenting with color. Go wild, have fun, don't worry too much about your hues and your contrasts and everything like that. As long as it looks bright, fun, explosive, colorful, eye-catching. As long as it looks good, you're doing it right. Number 3, spending too long, not enough time on a piece of artwork. Do as many as you can, as fast as you can, as long as you're practicing anatomy, layout, everything like that. You're having fun, you're doing it right. Number 4, copying photos. Copying photos is great. Using them as reference, great. You're doing that, you're doing it right. Tracing photos, it's a patchy subject. If you're doing paint overs, you're doing it wrong. But as long as you are, somebody try and run me over. As long as you are copying photos for reference, or little bits of photos, then you're doing it right. Number 5, worrying about layers and such and so forth. If you're not worrying about that, you're doing it right. Don't get bogged down. Just have fun. You're doing it right. The layers aren't the most important thing. Just have fun. If you're sharing your artwork on social media, especially if it's unfinished, you're doing it right. You want feedback, everything like that. Share it. If you're doing that, you're doing it right. Number 7, if you're not worrying about high res and low res and everything like that, then you're doing it right. You're not going to be printing your stuff at billboard size or making massive posters, are you? So just work at 96 DPS or 72 or 150. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're doing RGB or CMYK. You're not professionally printing this stuff. You're just making digital art. You're just doing it for you. Have fun. You're doing it right. If you're worrying about mistakes, then you're doing it a little bit right, but mostly if you're not worrying about mistakes, you're just getting your artwork out there. Try and rework an image a few times, draw it again from scratch as many times as possible until you get that right. You're doing it right. Drawing what you love. If you're into drawing fruit, draw that fruit. Draw the best fruit you can draw. Have fun. You're doing it right. Draw manga. If you love manga. If you're into furries, draw furries. But draw the best furries possible. You're doing it right. Follow your favourite artists as well. Like me. Get some inspiration from the people who draw the same things as you. And you'll be doing it right. Taking criticism is very important because, you need that criticism. But as long as you're getting creative criticism, as long as you're getting the criticism that's right, as long as you're not taking it too seriously, you're doing it right. Don't worry about it. Don't get all caught up in what other people are saying. And that's about it. So I'll see you later, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and click like on this video. Have a great day. I'll see you all later.